Okay, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Lost and Found. This is your host, Amanda. Welcome to episode 100. Is anybody else surprised that we made it here besides me? No? Yes? Maybe? Just a little bit? Well, I am. And I haven't been on here in a minute with just us to chat. So I thought today would be a really good day to do that. And forgive the no makeup. I have not put myself together for this, and I've been traveling. I was in Nashville to batch record for a couple of days, worked during the day, batch recorded at night, and had a lot going on over the last few weeks. And I think the last time I did a solo would have been a month ago. Yeah, a month ago. About 8 episodes or so ago. A month ago. And just a lot's been happening. Wanted to come on here because I felt like 100 episodes is a huge milestone, especially for somebody that's not a professional podcaster. I don't do this full time. I'm the executive producer, creator, researcher, host, editor, primary editor at least, for everything. And it's been quite the endeavor. Quite the creative hodgepodge masterpiece in the making, but it's been really, really important to me. And I've been reflecting on this a lot, especially over the last couple of weeks. And I had a moment when I was in Nashville this last time. It kind of triggered me to start thinking about all of these different things. Not necessarily triggering in a bad way, but just it reaffirmed a lot. And it also signaled to me that I have grown so much. A lot of what I believe in is still true and real to me, real to the message I want to give, real to my goals, ultimately. And I thought we could just kind of talk about that, actually, for episode 100, because when you're giving your all into something and you're starting something new, or you're creating a new project, when you're trying to build something from nothing, you're going to start to doubt yourself a lot. There are going to be moments in your life where you think, I don't know if this is right anymore. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I don't know if what I'm doing makes any sense. I don't know if what I'm creating is correct. I don't know if my original plan is really what's going to take me to the finish line. And there's going to be moments when you have breakdowns before the breakthroughs. And that's kind of what happened to me this last week. And that miniature breakdown helped me realize just how far I've come and how far I have yet to go in terms of creating the life that I want for my future, in terms of understanding who I am as a person, in terms of really accepting the growth point that I'm at. There's going to be a lot of times where you feel just utterly alone on these types of journeys of self-discovery, self-development, self-reflection, all that stuff. When you're going through those pivotal growth moments, those pivotal transitions, you're going to doubt yourself a lot. You're going to feel lonely a lot. You're going to feel like everything's still falling apart before it pieces back together. And those are going to be some of the toughest moments, most challenging moments of your growth period, of your long journey that is your life, right? The world is already really negative, and there's already haters, and there's already people doubting your choices and your dream and telling you either directly or subliminally what you're doing is crazy, it's never going to work, you don't have the capital, you don't have the experience, you don't have X, Y, or Z, the charisma, whatever it is, insert here. You don't have the right tools, you're not following the algorithm, you're not using the right strategy, blah, 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 insert. But for whatever reason, deep down in your own soul, there's nothing else you could think about. There's nothing else that you crave more. There's nothing else that keeps you up at night. There's nothing else that you desire so deeply and so badly. There's nothing else that you can envision when you think about your future, when you think about the dream life. That for me, a lot of it's when I am eventually on my deathbed, or when my time eventually comes and I am sitting there, if I'm blessed to be old enough in my 90s and I'm looking back on my life, what is the life that I want to be looking back on, that I'm proud of? right? That is all I think about, quite honestly. It's all I think about, one piece at a time, one building block at a time. I have had several guests lately who seem to be very kind and interested in what it is that I'm trying to build and the brand I'm trying to create and the messaging that I'm trying to get across to my listeners and to my community members. They're very supportive, and they always ask at the end of the interview, well, what's next? What else do you want to create? Where do you want this to go? And I give them a vision, of my plan for how to build upon it. The books I would like to eventually write, the conferences I'd like to eventually host, what I would like to turn this into for the Wanderer community and for the younger generations to come. Obviously, these topics that I bring up are things that anyone can experience or feel or have issues with, and growth moments related to this. But the whole point of the show is to help people feel less alone and for other people to not get stuck in those really deep-rooted, angry, frustrated, lost feelings like I had. I don't ever want someone else to feel the way that I did when I lost myself, because it was devastating. It was, and it still is to certain degrees, not to the severity that it was the 2-3 years ago, but I remember what that felt like. And I don't ever want to go back there again. And so I hope anybody that listens to the show can take that away too. Can use this show as, hey, she's living it in real time, live, explaining who she is and how she feels and what's going on in her head. And I feel that way too. I feel lost. I feel shamed. I feel frustrated. I am going after my own goal, trying to build the future life that I want. And yet almost at every turn, it feels like I'm running into a wall. Or the other day when I was having that miniature breakdown, which we'll get into, I kind of described it as like, lately my life choices feel like I'm trying to twist a Rubik's Cube back together, back to the original state with all the color on the right sides. And yet every single twist of that cube, every single twist that I make in my life to fix that cube, I get further and further away from the answer. Further and further, it feels like further and further away from getting it right and getting that square all pieced together. And that's terrifying and frustrating. And I have not felt lonely in a really, really, really long time. Probably not since I started the show. And so last week, after one of the interviews that I had, we were talking about, your career goals and where to go in life and how to find your tribe and get the right vibes with your right job. And when you don't have those, how to transition out of that job and have the courage to move on to a new one and find a new job, a new role, take that risk, get out of the environment that it doesn't suit you anymore. Because if it doesn't suit you, then it's not the right fit for you. And the longer you stay somewhere like that, the more it's going to pull away from sometimes your own humanity, from your creativity, from the essence of what makes you you. And so when we got out of that interview, I kind of had a breakdown about it because I got in my car and cried. The interview in and of itself went great, but when it was done, I was reflecting on everything that guest had said, and I went in my car and I cried because it made me realize how lonely this journey has been, how true their statement is that if you're in the wrong environment, it can really harm you. And I remember all those old feelings, and it made a lot come up for me. And it made me realize, like, despite getting to 100 episodes, I still felt really lonely on this journey. Even though I moved closer to my family, that covered a lot of the things that I needed to cover, but my internal self, my internal struggles, the things that I'm trying to work on, me personally, not my personal life with my family, but me personally, I still feel so alone and like I don't belong, and like I haven't found somebody that I could talk to about this, because yet again, I picked a career that no one in my family has ever done. I mean, obviously my father's been a marketer and my mom's been an entrepreneur, and so is my dad and stuff, but like not in broadcasting or multimedia like this, especially not podcasting. They didn't fully get it when I first started it. So I have nobody really to talk to about it. I don't have any mentors in the industry yet. I would love to get some, but this guest that I had been talking to, they talked about how important mentors were for them and the relationships they had built in their industry. How they finally felt like they were in a career where they did belong and they did fit in and they were getting good feedback and all that kind of stuff. It just really hit me like, oh, I've come so far. I've made it to 100 plus now, or will be over 100 episodes, but you would think that I would feel further along than I do, but I don't still. It's crazy. It's really hard to believe. We'll be coming up on 2 years in October. Pretty sure October 14th. And that's wild. That's so wild. Because I think if you go back and listen to some of the original episodes, I said, we'll just, we'll do a few and see how we feel. We'll make it to the end of the year and see how we'll feel. We'll do 1 year and see how we feel. And every milestone I set for myself, I just kept going and I kept going because I'm gaining momentum, it feels like. But man, I had a really low point after that interview. And it wasn't necessarily that I felt jealous over that person. I'm grateful that guest was in a place where they felt aligned in their life. That's a really good thing. As the listeners, you guys are going to get a lot of good insights from this person, from this feedback. But when I walked away that night, it hurt. It physically hurt to sit there and acknowledge, oh, wow, you're in a pivotal point right now in this podcasting journey where you're meeting a lot of people. You're meeting very interesting guests, very interesting people that are either have shows of their own or they've done things that you want to do, like write books, or they are mentors or coaches of some sort, and they've all got this deep expertise in whatever it is that they specialize in. And you're 100 episodes in, and you're still looking for yourself. You're still trying to figure out where you belong. And it made me, for a split second, start to worry, am I ever going to get an expertise in something? Am I ever going to be the go-to person for X or Y or Z or whatever? But what hurt most of all in that self-reflection on that drive home was that I felt like I had no one I could call. I felt like I had nobody that I could explain or vent to or just unload a lot of these feelings, because I didn't want to call my parents. They're busy. They had stuff going on. And again, they're not in the industry. So what would I don't know how much feedback they could really give me. I didn't want to call my friends because they were all either on vacation or at work, working late, or home with their husbands or their kids. And again, none of them are in the industry that would be able to chat about it that I knew of. And I didn't want to burden them with it. The whole woe is me, I feel like an idiot, or like I should not be this upset over something that shouldn't have been triggering, but it somehow did. And like I let this person's opinions, go through me, right? Like I didn't have to take any of that conversation that way, but it lit up a certain part of myself where it's kind of like, I wish I could feel that way. I want to get to a point where I feel like that person. How do I get to a point where I can feel like this guest and the way they do and how proud they feel about their life and what they're doing with it? And it was a tough moment. And so, of course, then I did the cringy thing where I filmed the whole thing. And it's like an 8-minute video. I don't think I'm going to ever share it. I'm just going to keep it for myself for personal reflection time. The documentary we make about my life one day. But I did film it because I needed to remember her in that moment. Another year is going to go by. This podcast is going to continue. I will still do in-person interviews, as many as I can. I will still do virtual interviews, as many as I can. I'm still going to work really hard at my current job as well and as true as I can. But I needed to remember Amanda in that moment, because Amanda in that moment was struggling. And that's a key moment, because there's never a clear path when you're going through a journey like this to rediscover yourself and rediscover what it is you want out of life and where you want to go and what you want to do with it, with trying to understand your talents and your purpose versus your skills. And if you can find a way to make those two things align, that's great. Sometimes it doesn't always work that way, but ideally, that's what you want to do. And I'm still doing everything I can to try and understand myself and what I want out of this life and what I want out of this project. And so I think one of the things I realized from that moment, from that little breakdown, and from feeling so lonely on this journey was that, like, being alone is going to happen a whole lot more often in my life than I would like, probably. But I need to have the confidence to lean on myself. You know, I've got my own back. I have since the beginning. Somewhere there's been a part of me that has believed in myself, that has encouraged this artistic side, that has wanted me to be creative, that has wanted me to try something new. That is the side that was screaming out 2 years ago, like, if you don't do something, anything, you're going to lose us. You're going to lose this part of us. And that was the version of me that I had to lean into to comfort myself through that through that problem, through that pivotal moment of self-doubt and breaking down before the breakthrough. And I hate to admit it, but that it's really true. I've seen a few times again, I'm paraphrasing from the internet, but some of the influencers or other writers and other experts that I follow on the podcast Instagram, they've said in various ways, in different formats, that throughout your journey or your travels through life, there are going to be giant stakes in the road. There are going to be forks in the road where you have to make serious decisions that are going to impact the rest of your life. You are going to come through moments of self-doubt, moments of being alone, moments of losing relationships, gaining relationships, more breakdowns than you would like to admit before you're ever going to have that breakthrough. And that, as difficult as that journey is going to be to gain and lose over and over again, sometimes you're losing a lot, sometimes you're gaining a lot. But neither one of those things, the good or the negative, lasts forever. So if I'm in a lull right now on this podcast journey, then I'm due for an upgrade. I'm due for the next positive moment to take flight or to take charge. And it's okay to break down. It's okay to doubt yourself. It's okay to have an introspective moment and go, okay, I thought I was doing better, but maybe I'm not. And that's okay. Hiding it or burying those feelings clearly didn't work. And so letting it out now is really my only option in order to move forward. And so I just had to let myself be upset. I wanted to stop crying. I wanted to stop worrying. I wanted to stop feeling like a mess. And I wanted so badly to be able to go home and just tell someone, tell a partner, explain what was going on in my head, explain what I was feeling. And I don't have one. And so it was one of those, just reality hits moments where it's kind of like, it's okay to want someone else to be there. But the truth is, you don't need someone else to be there. You have been here the whole time. You've stood up for yourself. You've started this new journey. You've kicked down a lot of self-doubt. You've, wiggled your way through doors, open doors to meet a lot of people, to make this happen, to invest a lot of money. This is not the time to give up. When you feel lonely, this is not the time to give up. This is not the time to turn around. This is not the time to quit, because every other influencer or advisor or writer or self-development guru, whatever person you want to talk about, whatever label they give themselves, every single one of them has always told you people don't make it because they give up right before the breakthrough, and you cannot do that. Don't be that statistic. Your visions are too strong. Your plans are too well thought out. Your intentions are significant and real and truthful. And that's what you're going to lean into. Not the loneliness, not the doubt, not the fear, not the sadness, not the part where your life doesn't match up to what you want it to be yet, right? Your life doesn't match up to what you want it to be, and yet look at all of the steps you've taken to get there. You're doing what you said you would do. You were following through on these interviews. You were following through on all the edits and the uploads and doing all the research you can about podcasting and like what are the trends for 2025 and 2026? What are you trying to figure out what to make next, what to say next? You're not half-assing it. That's significant. That's important. And so that's kind of how I had to bring myself down and around after that, because I really have so much to be proud of. And that's what I should have said to myself in those moments. Yes, by allowing myself to be upset, I was validating how I really felt. But the truth was, I think some of that loneliness just really hit because I've been trying to figure out where I belong, and I thought I knew for so long, with the national security stuff. And then when that started to go sideways, you're kind of like, man, I thought I had that right. And now I'm trying this new thing, and I don't know if it's working. So to have another moment where you're like, oh man, I thought I had that right. But think about it, is that really fair to judge what I've done now or question the results that I have now when I spent 10 to 12 years in the counterterrorism, national security type space, emergency management type space? I've been in that life since I was 18 years old, 18 to 31. That's a long time. It's a long time. And I've only been doing the podcast for almost 2 years. So hey, Amanda, you got to give yourself a break. And if you're on a journey like me and you've started something new, or you're trying to build something new, and you're trying to break a bad habit or a psychological trait, or build up your business, leave your old relationship, find a new one, reparent yourself while you're parenting your own kids, whatever your challenge is right now, think about the old version of you. How much time did you spend building up that skill, building up that habit, building up that thing that you're changing? And then compare that to the amount of time you have spent in the new life, the new habit, the new thing that you're trying to become. Have you spent the same amount of time on both? Or did you spend a whole lot more time on your old life, the old you, the old habits, and way less time on the new one? So obviously there's not as much results yet in the new life or in the new world, in the new habit, in the new business, the new industry, the new whatever thing insert thing that you're trying. And so when I started to think about things that way, I started to give myself a lot more grace. I kind of backed off being upset and having, the issues with how lonely I feel. Because it's another thing I've learned over the last couple of weeks. I was listening to a podcast with this woman named Liz Moody. You've probably heard of her. She has her own podcast called the Liz Moody Podcast, but she talks a lot about very similar subjects to what I talk about. It'll feel a lot like a Mel Robbins podcast, but they are 30, max 40-ish minute episodes. And she uses science to help you understand different self-development issues or concerns. Her story does specifically lean into anxiety and depression, but she had an episode dedicated to the arrival fallacy. And I started listening to that, and it just kind of hit home a lot for what I think I was dealing with, or at least the baby version of that, where, and I'm going to butcher this, but the arrival fallacy is that humans respond more to progress versus arriving places or arriving to a thing, arriving to a moment in life. Your brain appreciates progress because it feels like it can build and reach goals again and again, and like you're moving towards things. But the arrival point, after you hit that goal, doesn't work. It's not always that great. And your brain is being tricked into thinking that if you arrive to that thing, if you get that job, you buy that house, you marry that person, you get those kids, you get that career bump, or you get that major sale, or you win that award, or you get that medal, you get the thing that you've been working your entire life to get. As soon as you get it, then you'll be happy. And the truth is that when we fall prey to the arrival fallacy, you are far more likely to be unhappy and far more likely to be even more worse off than you were when you started on that journey, versus training your brain to appreciate the progress as it comes, appreciating the journey, the entire journey of getting to that goal, because you'll learn all these different layers about yourself, and you can use the obstacles and the good moments along that journey to help you appreciate the arrival moment. But that the goal should never be to quote unquote arrive, because that's just not how our brains function optimally, right? And so I think part of the reason that I was so upset the other night was that I guess subconsciously I thought I had arrived. Maybe subconsciously I thought, well, we're nearing 100 episodes. Like, this should feel better than it does. And then it hit me that I was alone. I had nobody that I could actually celebrate that win with. I had nobody that I could talk to about how difficult it felt to get to that point. I think maybe I was just looking at everything all the wrong way. I wasn't appreciating the progress moments. I wasn't leaning into how difficult it's been to learn how to do all this editing, to do all this recording. I wasn't appreciating the journey still. I was still I wouldn't call myself ostriching, right? But like, I was heads down, funnel, like just digging through the mud. I didn't pull myself out of the mud long enough to go, oh wow, I've dug really far. We are still in the trenches, but look how long this trench is. This is a mile-long trench. Good for you, Amanda. So I think that maybe that was kind of my issue over the last couple of days. And maybe you're going to think that this is silly, of 100 episodes, you should be really happy, or this should be a big celebration episode. And it is like, this is a massive milestone, but I didn't want to come on here and lie either. I didn't want you guys to think that, we're 100 episodes in and maybe I'd have some answers by now. And the truth is, I don't. I don't know the meaning of life. I don't know the purpose of my life yet, but I know what I want it to feel like. And I'm getting there slowly but surely. And I know what I want it to feel like and sound like and look like. And we're on our way. We are. But if you're on a journey right now and you're feeling like you don't fit in and you feel like you don't belong, or you feel like you haven't found your people yet, you haven't found your tribe, or you did have a tribe but you're pivoting and you're doing it alone because you know where you want to go, not a lot of people are willing to follow. I get it. I do. I 100% do. And if you believe that strongly in your future self, and you believe that strongly in the life you want to create, I support you and I'm going to cheer you on. And because I know how lonely that's about to be for you. I know how incredibly difficult it's going to be to hold your head up every day and keep trying, to keep putting yourself out there, to keep using your voice for the better good, to keep putting yourself out there when it feels like no one hears you, no one can see you, no one resonates. If it makes you feel good and you feel better and you know that the light you're trying to add to the world matters, then I hope you keep going. I hope if you're in your car crying right now because nothing makes sense and you have no idea what direction to go in and you thought you had it all figured out and it turns out you don't, just like the rest of us, and that's a huge reality slap in the face. Welcome to the Wandering Club. Welcome. I am the queen of the Wanderers, quite honestly, and I'm always taking in new members if you want to join us. But that's what's been going on lately. Things are good. My family's good. I'm healthy. My family's, for the most part, healthy. Everybody's happy and doing okay, and we want for nothing. I have shelter. I have food. I can pay my bills. I'm okay, but I'm never going to shame somebody for wanting more out of their life. I'm never going to tell somebody to stop dreaming or, bring yourself back down to reality, because I don't believe in living small in my own life. And so I hope you don't limit yourself by trying to live small in your life. And that's kind of the lesson I want to leave for episode 100, is that this shit is hard. Going after your dream is hard. And your dream could be anything. It doesn't have to be podcasting. It doesn't have to be an author, like what I'm thinking about. Going after what you want, building the business that you want, starting that new career, building that family, taking on a new, financial change, leaning into your art, whatever that is, your creativity to inspire you, whatever it is that you want to do or create. Going against the norm, starting a path that nobody else has started before, deviating from what's expected of you. It's really, really hard. Growing something from nothing will be hard. But I promise you it's worth it. You're going to have the same moments like me. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to feel lonely. You're going to feel resistance. You're going to, people are going to come in and out of your life based on how well you're doing and how not so well you're doing. And so you have to use your discernment to figure out who are those people and what do they want from you. But quite honestly, if you are paying attention to the journey in and of itself and your progress along the way, you will succeed. Don't worry about what the final picture is going to look like, because quite honestly, you may get 2, 3, 4, 10 different iterations of whatever it is that you're about to make, and what you started with will not be the end product. I guarantee you that. It will not be the end product. And I hope you never arrive. I hope you continue with progress. I hope every single pivot you make gets you further and further along into becoming the person that you want to become. But I pray you never arrive, because if you arrive, that's the end of that journey. It's done. And that's only going to make you sad. And I don't want it to be like that for you. I hope you lean in even harder during the most difficult parts of your life, because those are the moments that are going to push you and progress you so much further than arriving, quote unquote, to that end result that you think you want. Because when you look back on your life, what do you want it to say? What do you want it to feel like? What do you want it to sound like? And if you're not doing those things today to make your life look, feel, and sound the way that you want it to sound when you are looking back later, fix it, man. Lady, person, fix it. This is your chance right now to pivot and to fix it. And I think it'll be worth it. But let me know how it goes. Let me know what you guys are up to, what you think of the show so far. We've made it 100 episodes in. Please tell me what have been some of your favorites. What are some topics that you enjoyed the most or didn't like? I need that feedback. Let me know if there's another guest you think we should invite, another guest that we should collaborate with. I'm always down for that kind of feedback, or to hear what you guys are interested in. Please let me know. You can leave comments directly in YouTube and Spotify on each episode. On Apple, you can leave a 5-star review. That means the world to me. Sharing the episodes with your friends, family, neighbors, people on the street, whoever you want, whoever you think will enjoy the show is huge. Sharing, and reviewing are a really big deal. They really help small shows out a lot. It helps me build up rapport with each of the listeners. It also helps me know more about what you love and you don't love. To be completely transparent, it does help with eventually getting the show sponsored. So ideally, to keep this going and to make it the level that I know it can be, I know that I want it to be, I need your feedback. So let me know. But you can always find me at hello@podcastforthelost.com. All of our social media with YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok is all at Podcast for the Lost. And I'll be here. Our next guest episode will be coming out later this week. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.